And so, the 2025 Formula 2 season comes to a close with Leonardo Fornaroli taking the championship win at the final round in Abu Dhabi. And although it's sad to say goodbye to a lot of these drivers who are graduating from the series elsewhere, we've got Super Formula, Formula E, WEC, Formula 1, Formula 1 reserve roles, we get to welcome a new cast of drivers for the 2026 Formula 2 campaign. So let's go through the drivers and just meet them, introduce them, and see what they're all about. So first up, we've got the reigning champions with Invict Racing. Now they managed to secure the most desirable driver, maybe, on the grid next year, and that being Rafa Camara, the 20-year-old Brazilian driver who swept F3. And I mean he swept it. He won so many of the races. He was points ahead. He won it in like Hungary or Spa or something. It was done. He was great. Mary Boyer and Solov were also there, but he was the driver of the pack. He joins Invicta, the best team in Formula 2 at the moment. The only team apart from Prema to win back-to-back titles in Formula 2, so that's quite a big achievement and quite a big recruiting mechanism for them. Their other driver, someone who has come in a couple of seasons ago as a bit of a wild card and has proved that he deserves to be here. And that's Joshua Dirksen, who makes the move over from AIX Racing to the front-running team. Now, he's shown that given the right setup and given the right engine, given the right car, he can deliver on a race weekend. The young Paraguayan is the first one from his country to score a podium, to score a win, so hopefully he can continue that streak and give Camara a little run for his money. I think Invicta, they do this recently, they get the best driver. They did it with Bortoleto, they did it with Fornaroli, and then they also get another solid Formula 2 guy. Last year it was Stanek, who'd been around Formula 2 for 2 seasons. Now they have Dirksen, who's been around Formula 2 for 2 seasons. Both of them were good, solid drivers, still quite young. So yeah, it's a good manoeuvre from Invicta, and they'll be chuffed with their lineup. Now we have High Tech. This is a wildly different direction, but one that I can't wait to see. Well, can't wait to see half of it. So their first driver is Rhoden Motorsport, who has been in Formula 2 for 2 years. The first season, 2024, he didn't do great. He was lower pack. This year, he's been middle lower pack. And this move, I think it's the slow death of a once promising career in European motorsport. Minietta, who was a 2023 Super Formula champion over Liam Lawson, has had him admissions of joining WEC, but with this poor showing in Formula 2, I think Toyota have kind of been a lot more cautious with him, hence why he spent so long in this series. I can see if this season doesn't work out for him, he's going back to Super Formula. If it does, he might go to WEC. So yeah, this is the do or die season for him. He won't be given another one. The other driver for High Tech is Colton Herter, who comes over from IndyCar after being linked with that Cadillac seat, but not getting it because of Bottas and of Perez. So he comes as a reserve driver and thinks that this is his best shot at joining Formula 1. Through doing well in Formula 2, being there, being American, and then when a Cadillac drop, either Perez or Bottas, he can step up potentially. I think if he goes out and wins Formula 2, it even gets maybe top 3, and he's strong from the start, those rumours are going to start swirling. So you better watch out for Herter next year, because he's not going to be sticking around for more than one season. I promise you that, because it doesn't make sense for him. He's one of the better drivers in IndyCar. He's still young for IndyCar terms. I think he's like 27, 28. Not old for F2, but this season's about Formula 1 for him and not about any kind of other series. So do or die, let's see him deliver for High Tech, the British team. Then we have Campos, who continue their tradition of having a lot of Red Bull connection, picking up Nicholas Lolov, I think it was second place in F3 last year for Solov. Yes, so beating his teammate Mario Boya, who was also in the Campos, and kind of delivering on a lot of the promise he showed. So he spent a lot of years in Formula 3, refining his skill set, and I think a lot of us kind of thought he'd dropped off, especially when he kind of got dropped by Alpine. I thought that might have been it for his kind of career ambitions, but then Red Bull picked him up, and in that environment where it's still or die, he's been delivering. So I've been impressed with him, and hopefully he continues to deliver in Formula 2. We saw him step into Formula 2 at the end of last or this year, and he's done well. So hopefully he can continue that and gives a good fight to Kamara, to Herta, and all these other kind of contenders. I will be doing a predictions episode early next year before the season starts, so stay tuned for that piece. But then the other driver for Campos is Noel Leon, who came, I think it was down in 17th last year in Formula 3, which was lower than what he achieved the previous season. So he was with one of the worst teams in Formula 3 during 2024. This year he set up the Prema, but as we know with Ugo Chukwu, with who was the other McLaren Junior? I've lost it. Let's have a look. Brenda Badua. It was those three all in the Prema team, and they ultimately under-delivered. Noel Leon ultimately lost to Ugo Chukwu, which was pretty bad considering how rough of a start of a season Ugo Chukwu had. But these things happen, and like a lot of the drivers, I think what happens with these drivers that getting a bit older in a Formula 3, they need to step up or they will rot in Formula 3. They're like, this is your only chance to step up. So even though you're not coming off the back of a good victory, it's now or never. And so he needs to kind of deliver this year. He might potentially get a second year, but it's on the ropes for Leon, so he needs to deliver. But that is the Campos team with Leon and Solov. Then we have Dams Lucas Oil, who say goodbye to both their drivers and welcome Dino Beganovic and Roman Belinsky. Now, Dino Beganovic had a rough start to the season in Formula 2 this year, but I think slowly turned it around, and by the end he was one of the better drivers in that series. He was definitely qualifying well, kind of putting in a potential race win here and there, and ultimately finished, I think it was 7th in the championship. Yeah, so a really rough middle part of the season, but came back to him, and hopefully he'll be looking to win the Formula 2 title with that Dams team, which, as they've shown with Jack Crawford, can put up a good title challenge in one car at least. The next driver is Roman Belinsky, who obviously had the incident a couple of years ago, which put him back in his career a couple of years. But nice to see that he's back. He was with Rhoden in Formula 3 last year, and he's back to his old self, doing well here and there. And yeah, stepping up from F3 to F2 makes sense for him, given that he had those couple of years out. So I'm happy for him, and I can't wait to see what he can do. I don't think he'll be on pace with Beganovic, given the kind of experience level and the kind of timeout that Belinsky had. But yeah, I think a good solid lineup for the Dams team. Then MP Motorsport, Oliver Goeth, Gabriel Mini. Now Goeth came 15th in Formula 2 last year, where Mini really under-delivered. I think he finished in 13th, but I had Mini top 5 in last year's Formula 2. I know he was a rookie, but he was an experienced rookie. So yeah, I was very disappointed with how he finished the season. But these things happen. Another year, a new team. Good luck to him. And then, as I said, Oliver Goeth, also a rookie in Formula 2 last year, coming with the Red Bull Juniors, so Lindblad and Marty. A lot of competition there, but hasn't really delivered to his kind of hopes and dreams, getting some results here and there. But yeah, lower order. Let's see if he can improve this year. But I'm not putting any money on it. It's a rough bet. Then you have Prema, who, if I was a driver, I would just stay away from them for now. They're no longer the powerhouse of lower formula that we've seen in 5-10 years gone by. They're now like on some weekends they'll show up and have the best car. On others they will be maybe the worst car. So Mary Boyer, Sebastian Montoya, good luck to you both. I think Montoya, he's been with that team already. He knows what it's like. He might be okay. He came 12th last year, which was a lot better than I thought he was going to do. But then Mary Boyer joining the Aston Martin family, being sold that seat at Prema. Maybe he knows something that I don't, but good luck to him. He had a hell of a season last year, coming third in Formula 3 with a tight battle with Solov and Rafael Kamara. But yeah, I guess we'll see. Prema could be back to their usual ways, but they could also be trash. Then we have Rhoden Motorsport, who kind of delivered quite well with Dunn last year and continue to further Dunn's career this year after having some weird stuff go on in Dunn's career. He was with McLaren, he dropped them. It looked like he was with Red Bull, but then they cancelled their contract before it was announced, and so now he's back in Formula 2 with the same team, Rhoden. So it's nice to see him have some kind of support mechanism there, with some kind of the same team be able there to support him. He looked very promising at the start of last season, but kind of trailed off to the end and ultimately finished 5th. So hopefully he can kind of rediscover that initial form and fight with Kamara, with Solov, with Colton Herta for that title. I think we're going to have a big title fight next year, because there's at least 8-9 drivers that I think could win the championship. So I can't wait for the season to start, honestly. So subscribe to this channel if you want to see a lot of Formula 2 content. But he's with Sten Sean, a rookie, kind of, because he has raced the last 3 races in Formula 2 of 2025. But it's what always happens with young drivers. They step in around Azerbaijan and they kind of go through Abu Dhabi with a little bit of experience to make sure that they get their F2 career off to the right start when they get a full season under their belt. So Sten Sean, he has done fine in Formula 3. He came 5th last year, still out of that title fight because it was like those 3 drivers ahead. But, still solid. I think it was the right time for him to step up, similar to what we saw with Leon. Regardless of what happened in his Formula 3 season this year, I think he was always going to step up. So, congrats to Sten Sean for the promotion, but now it's time to deliver. Now we have ART with Tassanapol Interpuzovec and Kush Miney. Now Interpuzovec was that 3rd driver at the Campos team in Formula 3. And I think he's been propelled forward because of that. Because you have 2 great drivers in Solov and Boyer helping the team set their setup in their car and moving the team forward. And Interpuzovec, a little bit less experienced at that level, came into a great situation and ultimately came 7th. ART is going to be different. You have Kush Miney, who's now that Shaw's left, the most experienced driver in Formula 2 terms on the grid. So hopefully he can get a little bit of that off Miney, but I guess we'll see. So good luck to him in the ART team with Kush. But Kush is now the new Vashore, but probably a little bit worse in terms of talent. He has had his day. I remember back 3 or 4 years ago when I was watching Liam Lawson race. He had a good 2 or 3 races there that season. But I think he's just lost a bit of form. It happens to everyone. Like this season, I think he came down in 16th. He got 1 win, which is not what you expect from Miney. I would expect Miney to kind of always be around that 6 to 10 mark, just showing that experience. But I think he's lacked that. So hopefully he can be that solid driver for the team with the unproven Tassanapol there as well. But like I said, we're going to have to see next year. Sport, anything can happen. Then we have AX Racing with Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. and Keen Shields. Keen Shields stays with the team that he finished in 24th in the championship with last season. And yeah, he got the test out with Aston Martin in F1 postseason testing this year. I think this just speaks to the kind of finances behind Shields. I don't think there's much more to say than that for him. Emerson Fittipaldi Jr., I think it's a lot of timing and age and name for him. So we've seen with his brothers that or cousins that they can get drivers in those seats because of their grandfather or great grandfather, whatever one says, with the old Emerson Fittipaldi. Yeah, you have Emerson Fittipaldi in there now, who comes. I think it's one of from that Spanish series. Can't remember what it's called, but he's done fine there. But it's a big jump. We saw it with Taylor Barnard, kind of a similar jump, missing a lot of categories out. Saw it with Antonelli. Those drivers struggle initially, and so I can see Emerson Fittipaldi struggling initially, at least, if not a lot, for a while. But yeah, good luck to him. He's got the kind of heritage, I guess. But yeah, you want to see more resume in these kind of roles, I guess. Then you have Nicholas Verone, who comes, I think, from a similar category from the. And I think Verone actually comes from WEC, which is a weird kind of jump, I think a lot of time you see these drivers coming from single seater categories where WEC do got those dual seats, different kind of stuff. But yeah, 25, quite old. I mean, the VAR team that he's going to. I think they've had a rough few years in Formula 2, so a lot of it is just kind of rebuilding. So you need the finances to rebuild, and you get those finances by hiring drivers like Verone and like what's his name, Villa Gomez. These two pay drivers that you have coming in. It's just what happens with these lower teams. You either get some kind of punt on an out there driver, or you get drivers who probably shouldn't be in Formula 2 on pure merit coming in with something to prove, with the money to back it up. And then Trident, similar avenue. John Bennett, a bit of a pay driver coming through, missing F3, I think, and coming from GB3. Did he deserve it on merit? Maybe not, but does he can pay for it? Yep. And then Lawrence Van Hoopen, who's, I think, similar to Stenshorn, which is nice to go back to one of those long-term serving F3 drivers where it's about time to step up to Formula 2 because you've been there in F3 for 3 or 4 years now, and it's now or never, similar to probably Mary Boyep, similar to Solov. If they didn't have good years, they probably would have stepped up anyway, but they had good years. Stenshorn, not as good of a year as he would have hoped. I think he came down in 12th in F3, but still he's going to step up regardless of his performance last year, and joins Trident, which, as we've seen the last couple of races, have been terrible. So hopefully he can deliver in that team at some point next season, maybe in Spain, Barcelona, which we saw last season with the Trident team. They had a great outing there, so yeah, good luck to them. All the drivers I just listed. I will be doing driver predictions for the season, but that will be start of next year, January sometime, February maybe. So yeah, keep posted for that. Thank you for watching. Peace.